Let's go over some of the most outrageous force amplifiers in the grim darkness of the far future. Sorry, I know they go by other names, but saying any naughty words before the intro is done is bad. Trust me, YouTube doesn't like it. Intro is done is bad. Trust me, YouTube doesn't like it. Oh wait, the intro's over. Weapons. We're talking about 40k weapons. The Milky Way galaxy in Warhammer 40k is one that is seriously messed up. Demonic invasions, ever-adapting and evolving space bugs that want to eat everything, warmongering mushroom men that use the power of belief, with mummies made out of living metal that shoot space lasers, or lightning-fast space elves that could slice you in half faster than you could blink. Fortunately or unfortunately for us, there are quite a few weapons, handheld, mounted on vehicles, ships, or just explosives that you can use, or have used on you. And we're only going to be talking about ranged weapons, because even though there are some cool melee weapons, and they have cool designs and lore, that's too much to cover for one video. And I'm still trying to find out how many different ways I can tell you that you use the weapon by swinging it at somebody. And this is by no means to throw shade or disrespect at any of the normal weapons in this universe. Things like the bolter are terrifying that basically shoot exploding railroad spikes. Even the humble lasgun, which is supposed to be a glorified flashlight compared to the other weapons, can still burn a hole through a normal person. Both of which have some amazing showcases in their iteration in the Dark Tide video game, which is my beautiful, amazing trash game that I love so very much. There's also so many weapons to talk about that I would probably have to make an hour-long video essay to cover them all, which, I'm not gonna do right now. So make sure to show me that you're interested in seeing me cover some more wacky Warhammer weapons by liking, commenting, and subscribing, so I could cover more of them. And enough rambling too. Let's get on to those gosh darn weapons. First up, let's cover some things that are only really done by spaceships and/or our spaceships themselves. These things are really larger than life. So let's start it off with one of the most iconic weapons, Sly Marbo, or at least that's its code name to some people that really enjoy Catachan jungle fighters. Just kidding, we'll maybe talk about him later in his own video. I'm talking about Exterminatus, which is one of the most instantly recognizable forms of weaponry that the Imperium has in its bag of tricks. Exterminatus is the name for a protocol for wiping the slate clean for an entire planet. This is the Imperium's literal scorched earth policy, being the last resort for a planet if it becomes too costly to retake or has the high chance of spreading disasters to other worlds. Only Imperial commanders in the Inquisition or Space Marines may use it, and make it so the planet's surface and everything on it gets erased. For true cinema enjoyers, these are the big versions of those things from Oppenheimer, which, if you don't remember, is that movie you're gonna watch right after the Barbie movie. There are multiple ways that Exterminatus can be done, and most of them come from warships in orbit above the planets. Other ones are jury-rigged and improvised. Total bombardment is the most often used version of Exterminatus, where nuclear blasts turn everything on the planet to a crisp. Cyclonic torpedoes are often used, which only leave bedrock, where the atmosphere is lit on fire and leaving nothing but a dead world, being drier than your joints, because I know you don't exfoliate. There are even two-stage cyclonic torpedoes, which are cyclonic torpedoes, but better. It bores its way all the way into the planet's core, and then blows it up from the inside, really affecting fishing season, which means the planet is totally gone and just an asteroid belt. Virus bombs are also used, which are capsules with a pathogen known as a life-eater virus, with a built-in kill switch, where all is broken down into sludge and made highly flammable, making it very easy to get rid of most things on the surface. Though you still might be able to evade its destruction by getting deep into underground shelters, with the world now forever being turned into a desert, making the planet barren, but still habitable. Oh, and virus bombs can be used on Tyranids because they adapt too fast to the pathogen. Are they just the worst to get off the face of any planet? Next up we have the World Engine, which is a mobile artificial Necron tomb world that is ruled over by Neokare's dynasty. But the Necrons themselves gave the planet a dumb name, like Boris or something? I don't know, I'm not a Necron. Boris has a ludicrous amount of firepower. It is Warhammer 40k's equivalent to a Death Star, being able to scorch and destroy planets. Not much is known about the World Engine except for what the Imperium had analyzed from it. I'm concluding that it had massive firepower and many unawakened Necrons aboard, and that they wanted the World Engine destroyed. When it was finally attacked by the Imperium, it took the effort of 15 separate chapters of the Space Marines and the Imperial Navy to make landfall. They tried using drop pods and torpedoes, but they got zapped out of reality. It seemed like a stalemate until the chapter master of the Astral Knights had the best idea ever and rammed his battle barge into the world made out of hardened living metal. The shield fell when this happened though, and the Astral Knights fought for over 4 days, with only 7 Space Marines being alive at the end when they used Melta charges to detonate tombs, with them bringing it down with Cyclonic Torpedoes, spelling doom for this one-of-a-kind beauty. So long, Boris. I hardly knew ye. The attack moons are an orc vessel that only started really being used in the 32nd millennium. These giant hollowed-out moons were used by the Beast and his army. These attack moons can go through a hyperdimensional realm known as subspace, which I think the only other race that has been there is the Tau, being able to take small dives into it. These are constructed much like orc rocks, but better. The moon is hollowed out and being able to go insanely fast. Much like the orc collectors, the orcs themselves would weld random pieces of garbage on the moon to the surface, creating giant stylized orc faces, with the mouth being able to be used as a launch bay for other spacecraft. One of the scariest things an attack moon can do is say, screw it, I've had enough of this, and decide to make planetfall. These attack moons can crash right into cities or bases while going insanely fast, not only destroying what it landed on, but also being able to be used as a forward operating base for the orc Wa that's about to make landfall. Attack moons were also used during the Wars of Armageddon, which were used in this exact way to decimate the human population on that planet. The next category are going to be smaller arms, which are ones that can be used on vehicles or handheld by individuals. Railguns are pretty frickin' awesome, although they're not as ridiculous as the cannons or ships I previously brought up. The railgun is used by the Tau crisis suits and can be used by the Leagues of Votann, as well as other vehicles or just simple firecast warriors. I don't know if other casts could shoot it. I don't know if they're built for war like that and could withstand the blowback. Rail weapons pierce through everything, with it being a perfect anti-tank rifle, because it bores a hole through anyone and anything at up to the 6 times the speeds of sound, with the round itself going up to 6 times the speeds of sound, the damage really being dependent on how much energy was put behind the rail. A railgun is fired, it sounds like a whip crack, with the sound barrier being broken through. It's a dreaded sound to hear, because if you hear it, a rail round has already turned somebody into a conspicuous jar of peanut butter. This is achieved with the power of electromagnets. Surprisingly, it works great against troops too, because it vaporizes a target and wins pretty much everybody else near it, knocking the air out of their body. The Shokk attack gun is a weaponized version of a Telefrag from Quake. It has been made by the orcs in a seemingly impossible marvel of technology, a piece of orc machinery that is large and unwieldy, shakes and rattles loosely, and nobody but a mech can really wrap their hands around using it, with no other orcs being able to hold it steady. The way that it works is that it makes a projectile that can be Grots or Gretchen or Squigs teleport inside of whatever the Shokk attack gun is pointed at. The creature uses a projectile starts biting, gnawing, and tearing at you, making it one of the most deadly handheld weapons an orc can use. If an orc were to get lucky, it could land a headshot on a custodian and just explode his head. It might even be able to kill a Primarch, but they probably move too darn fast to actually get headshot. Melta guns and bombs are just messed up. They are a superheated explosive that is used by the Imperium, Eldar, Necrons, and Tau. Called Melta Guns because they melt everything, breaking everything instantly with multiple 10,000 degrees centigrade of heat. Melta charges can be used with rifles, explosives, and sometimes pistols. The energy inside a Melta charge is made of an intense thermal energy with a superheated head. The charges hiss with something close to hatred, with it evaporating the contents in the air. Melta weapons are generally easier to wield than some larger weapons, with even guardsmen being able to use them, with their general applicability being really terrifying. This last section is full of things we don't exactly know the most about. It's mainly because they were either new to the lore or brought up once or twice for a few sentences of flavor text. The older editions of 40k, so these explanations are going to be pretty darn fast too. The Celestial Orrenary was brought up in a 5th edition Necron Codex and in a book to the lead up of the Fall of Cadia in 7th edition. 5th edition came out, some of my viewers might have not even been alive if my analytics are to be believed. Heck, I don't even think I was cognizant till around 2020. 7th edition came out in 2014. But enough about that backstory about the lore, freelance, you dunderhead, I hear you saying. So I'll continue. Celestial Orrenary is a set of holograms and necrodermis that look like a model of the galaxy, but is instead, in fact, directly linked to the galaxy itself, with it being in the Aruskar's dynasty's crown world. This piece of technology was made before the War in Heaven, making it so if you extinguish a star on the map, it happens in real life. The star is going completely supernova. Emperor knows I could not be in the same room with this. Not because I would plan to do anything, but more because I would spill a glass of water on it and destroy the galaxy accidentally. That being said, if you do explode a star, the primordial forces of the universe get mad and make it so you can't use it again for a long time, suffering the dire consequences of that, with it taking many millennia to get charged back up, which is fine for the Necron because that isn't really that long for them. The Norn Emissary is a new addition to the Warhammer universe that just happened to appear in the Leviathan book box. This Tyranid is new to the lore and has some very interesting things about it that I wanted to bring up. Mainly because it's new and it helps get clicks. The Norn Emissary is a type of Tyranid that is extremely smart, having tact and being close to a swarm lord. Some tried to extract Gene's heat from Space Marines, while one stayed hidden and waited to ambush a commander, and had the ability to kill 5 custodians while attempting to kill a commander. The power scaling on these things is insane, but as of the making of this video, we don't know much about them. They are a cool new thing though, so I wanted to cover them. Keep an eye out on these, because they might be one of the craziest things to exist in the 40k universe, and stay tuned for a possible video on these things. And that's all for this list for now. There are so many more silly doohickeys in the 41st and 42nd millennium, that if this video does good, I could even make more videos on the more iconic weapons of 40k, as well as some of the more outrageous weapons too. So make sure to write in the comments if you want to see that video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you can get notifications when I post new videos so you don't miss out. Until next video, fellas.